Hey, Clear Lake peeps. Ross England here with Clear Lake Guide Service and your report for Clear Lake for this week for September 22nd, 2022. Sorry, coming to you from the garage studio, quote unquote. Just couldn't get home this afternoon in time, so hope you're all doing good. Thanks for watching. Hope this is useful information to you. So here's, we got a couple of different things to talk about this week on top of what we normally talk about. So here's the deal. We got some rain last couple days. Wednesday night, Thursday, today's, Monday night and Tuesday. We got quite a bit of rain. Ended up getting, depending on where you were around the lake, anywhere from a half an inch to almost 2 inches. What that translated into as far as lake level was essentially the lake stayed still. Last week we were at minus 2.1. Essentially we're at minus 2.1 this week. The lake would have dropped 0.15. So 0.15 feet is about how much water we got from the rains that we got. So the nice thing is water, the air temperatures have cooled down a lot. It's supposed to heat up again this weekend into the low 90s, and then next week settle down into the mid 80s again. So what that did for water temperature is when I launched today in Lakeport, it was 69.5 degrees. When I came in, it was 71. So really nice change in the water temperature in that it dropped down to where it's gonna currently, probably for today and the next couple of days, it'll hang in there probably around 70 degrees. With the upcoming heat that's coming this weekend, it'll probably pop up into the 72 or 73 degree range. But we've had some cool nights, so that'll really help as far as trying to keep the heat down on the water temperature. So your water temperature, water clarity, from what I got around and saw, and I didn't see everything by any stretch of the imagination. I dinked around a little bit on the upper lake, down into the narrows, and just below the narrows a little bit. I like the color of the water. Most of it was a greenish color instead of, and I don't mean an algae green, just a greenish color as opposed to the brown color that it had been. So I liked the way the watercolor looked. Clarity wasn't very good. I mean, we weren't seeing our fish, when we were trying to land them, we weren't seeing them until they were about a foot and a half under the surface. So the baits, I'll be generous and say at least where I was in 2/3 of the lake, 1 foot visibility. That was about it. Weeds, there are, I wish I could tell you what this grass is. It kind of looks like a dust mop in that it's kind of small at the bottom and then branches out on top. It's a very, very nice looking green color, and it's still hanging in there. I mean, the weeds that I have not seen is the stuff that typically dies off first, and that's some of the stuff with the little leaves on it. I started in Lucerne this morning, and there's acres and acres and acres of that green fluffy stuff. I didn't see any fish working in it, didn't see any birds working in it, and I didn't see a whole lot of bait working in it. But there's a lot of vegetation, and I know last week when I was out going up farther up into Lakeport, I saw the same thing. That same particular grass seems to be holding out fairly well right now. So other than that, just getting around the lake, you can see every once in a while, we had quite a bit of wind over the last couple of days. So there was there's grass and remnants of grass or weeds that are kind of floating all over the place, and that's what you pick up with a moving bait, a reaction bait. And some of that stuff is just the white, long, stringy stalk. So that's your, that's about all I can tell you about that stuff. Upcoming activity, water level I already covered. Launch ramps, still off the beach at Clear Lake Oaks, 5th Street launch ramp in downtown Lakeport. And those two are the only ones that you should really be considering if you've got a boat and trailer. And if you're running a 21-foot boat or bigger, you really need to be careful at 5th Street. I'm going to say that there's about 1.5 feet of horizontal space between the back end of my tandem axle trailer and where the end of the ramp is. So on a 21-footer, you probably got 6 to 10 inches less. It's getting close. Bottom line, don't try to just dump your trailer, as far as you can in. Be careful. Take it down, take your trailer back far enough to where you can just get your boat to float off and go. Once you're in the water, there's still 2.5 feet of water out there out in front. So I think, like I said the week before, I'm basically trimming out my big motor and idling out way out past the 5-mile-an-hour buoys until I see that drop off from 2.5 to 4 feet. Then I power up. So guys with bigger boats, bigger motors, heavier boats, unless you want to be running your prop in the mud, you might consider doing the same thing. Clear Lake Oaks, launching off the beach is what I hear from just about everybody that's using it down there. Again, it's a 2-person operation. 4-wheel drive would be very, very useful. So the actual launch ramp down there is just not in the best of shape. You could, a smaller boat, single axle trailers, those kind of things, little tin boats, maybe even some of the 17-foot bass tracker type boats probably can get by, but without a doubt, 5th Street launch ramp in downtown Lakeport is the one that currently is in the best shape of all the launch ramps around the lake. If you're not familiar, you haven't been up here in a while, the county park launch ramp is not barricaded off. So you might pull up into the parking lot with your boat, you might see the launch ramp is there, and you might say, oh geez, maybe I can launch there. Just don't do it. It's open, but it's open for, I'll call it personal watercraft, kick boats, kayaks, probably a jet ski would be fine because it's a pretty short trailer. So just be careful. Redbud is pretty much the same story. It's closed, but it's closed in a manner that it still appears like it's open, even though there's a sign in the middle. And I posted a video last week. There's a sign in the middle that says ramp closed. I wouldn't launch, a standard bass boat or a runabout in it right now. It's going to be just a deal that you can do for personal watercraft and kayaks, kick boats, that kind of stuff. So there's the launch ramp information. Activities this coming week, we have 2 kayak events going on. One is Wild West, their year-end championship. I believe it's the top 50 anglers in their circuit who have practice Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday is the tournament. And then there's Cal Bass Nation, who is running their kayak tournament in conjunction during the same time as the Wild West event. So I don't know what that's going to boil down to. And again, it's a weekend tournament, Saturday, Sunday. let's be generous and say that there's going to be 100 kayakers out running around. They spread themselves out so well that if you do come up here fishing, you probably won't even notice it unless there's, you know, an area that has a bunch of fish. And if there's a bunch of fish in an area, there's going to be a bunch of kayaks. Those guys find them. So that's those are the activities that are going on this weekend. What transpired since the last video that we did was we found out that Fish and Wildlife contacted organizations that had tournament permits for the remainder of September and the entire month of October. And due to low water, questionable water quality, mostly low water, and the fact that it was going to be difficult to get the release boats in and out off the launch ramps, Fish and Wildlife worked with and asked the directors of these events that are scheduled to consider postponing, moving it, deleting it. So it went through a couple of different motions, and the first motion, unfortunately for them, included it was just a straight across the board. If you've got a permit, you know, hey, we really want to just void the permit and not have an event through the end of October. Well, it turned out that there were some kayak tournaments coming up, and the kayak organizers and Fish and Game got back together, talked about it, said, yeah, you guys don't have an official weigh-in on the bank, so no problem, you know, and they let the kayak tournaments go. The big one that was still coming up ahead of us was the end of October, ABA's Fish Off, which normally is a pretty big event. And ABA, when asked, chose to move to the Delta. So that event's not going to be here. I heard that several other tournament directors of tournaments that were two-day tournaments, Saturday and Sunday, were asked to at least cut it back from Saturday, Sunday to just Saturday. And I know there's some other events coming up in the following weeks, and I'll try to get more information just to let you know, hey, these events are live or they're not. I don't know in some cases who the key people are for some of these organizations, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of effort to track them down and see if I can come up with some more information for you. So anyway, that's the story. The first rumors that went around was that they closed Clear Lake. No, Clear Lake is not closed. It's going to take more than that to close the lake. And the second part was, well, some tournaments got canceled, or all the tournaments got canceled. Some of them are being rescheduled. Some of them moved. Some of them, there was just one day taken out of a two-day permit. Now, that's what I heard the beginning of this week. Something could have changed. And if somebody knows something different and wants to add it down below in the comments, please do. I want the information to be as good as possible. Okay? So, fishing. You know what? I've got nothing. Well, I do. The positive thing that I can say is when we catch a fish, they're decent. I mean, I think the smallest ones are just under 3 pounds. We've caught fish up to 6. This week, we had one day. Well, last week, we had a day where we caught 3 fish, including a 6-pounder. Today, we had a total of 7 fish with a couple of 4s. So we had, today, from what I've been able to do lately, it was a pretty good day. It was all finesse fishing. I couldn't get bit on reaction baits, although I can share with you that I do know there are some people who are catching some fish on reaction baits. So I'm just not one of them. So, but right now, with the way the fishing is and as tough as it's been, I'm just happy to catch any fish. Don't care. So that's it for me. That's it for the report. Sorry, I kind of got a little bit long-winded. We'll try to catch you next week. Have a good week.